Ngurah, just to add on to that, I think their heart is willing, but I'm not sure that America has the necessary human capital for understanding Asia. It doesn't seem that they understand the Asian culture very well, because 80% of success is just showing up here, right? Isn't it?
I spoke with Kurt Campbell the other day, and we agreed. I reminded him, look, you are the one who keep on saying that engagement. Even now, a telephone conversation with the ASEAN leaders did not even take place between President Biden. A telephone conversation. It's only 15 minutes or 30 minutes conversation. And yet we need to understand. We need to be in the position that we have to understand the circumstances that they are facing.
Can I say something here, Lily?
Yes, please feel free.
I think I generally agree with what Ngurah said, but I think we have to be realistic. The US is a global power.
Yeah.
Southeast Asia is one of a huge agenda, right? And in a way, I'm glad that we are not high on the agenda, because it means that we are not a huge problem, right? If the first thing that Mr. Blinken or Mr. Biden thinks of calling is some ASEAN leader, that means we are in trouble, That means something wrong is happening here, right? Don't forget that, there are two ASEAN countries that are former treaty allies, but in a very loose sense, right? Most of us are non-aligned. It is quite clear where the Biden administration's priorities were. All the first phone calls, all the first visits are Asian allies, right? There were calls, I think, to some ASEAN foreign ministers, including Ibu Retno, I believe, right? And so I think we must, and let me return to a point I made at the very beginning. If we are going to be central, we have to make ourselves relevant and useful.
That's true. Agree.
We cannot just sit down and say, I am central, I am central, I am central. Why are you neglecting me? Right? You have to do. So I said, you want to be engaged. The engagement is not art for art's sake. The engagement is to seek your cooperation. There are certain things we can do. There are certain things we may not be willing to do. There are certain things we can do as individual countries. There are certain things we can do maybe collectively as ASEAN. We need ourselves to decide on that, I think Indonesia knows what it can and cannot do. I know Singapore knows what it can and cannot do. I'm not quite sure about the rest,
But I'll say, though, that I was just going to say, there are plenty of voices building now to urge that engagement with ASEAN across Southeast Asia, across the Asia Pacific. You have, a call from, which the AmCham Singapore, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Center for APEC, all urging the United States to host APEC in 2023, which right now does not have a host country. That would force the U.S. to really engage with the 21, member economies of APEC over a period of time. And so that, we're urging that engagement. There are a lot of groups, urging the United States to do a digital trade agreement. Either do it with Singapore or do some combination of Singapore, Japan, Australia, a digital trade agreement, because we know, TPP is not going to happen in the first couple of years of a Biden administration. But this could be, one, it's important to do a digital trade agreement, and two, it could be a springboard to greater economic and trade integration across Asia Pacific. So you do have those calls, from the United States, business community, you have from society, you have calls for greater engagement on the environmental side. Indonesia is making great strides in terms of climate. There's a huge opportunity with what Secretary, Kerry is doing, and with COP26 for the U.S. to work with Indonesia. So there's other ways to get it done. We do want to see, I think, the formal engagement at the leader level. But as Bilahari mentioned, there's a priority that's going on, and ASEAN is not at top of the list right now for any number of reasons, but it's going to get to the top soon.
Trade is the lifeblood of the global economy, and it is under pressure. It is under pressure in Europe. It is under pressure in certain Asian countries. It is under pressure, severe pressure in North America, in the US in particular. But everybody knows that we need to keep it alive somehow. And this is how. And I'm very attracted to Steve's suggestion that the US should try to host the next APEC summit.
I mean, to be a true partner for us, immediately when President Biden invited President Jokowi to participate at the climate conference, we are not only participating, but we are also establishing a joint task force co-chaired by Minister Luhut and also Secretary Kerry. And we are even talking, following up, not only just to make the event big, we are following up with concrete and realistic approach on the implementation of our common objective to reduce emission. We are involving private sectors, we are involving all stakeholders to be able to, do it together. So, I mean, we will continue engaging the US. But again, you need two to tango.